So after I posted my video unboxing the Nintendo Switch 2, I received a couple of comments both on YouTube and Discord that had the same theme. The first one said, am I the only one disappointed in him not boycotting the Switch 2? And the second was actually a question in the Ask Me Anything chat in my Discord server asking, why have you decided not to join in on the Switch 2 boycott? And I think this is a great opportunity for me to address quite a common issue that arises from what I see as a fundamental misunderstanding of just how hyper-individualized a person's experience on the internet is. So the question in the Discord server is asking why I decided not to join in on the boycott. In their view, it was an active choice I made to buy the Nintendo Switch 2 in spite of the boycott. Maybe in order to make some statement or in complete disregard for what the boycott was trying to achieve. But the truth is honestly much more mundane. I just didn't know anyone was boycotting the Nintendo Switch 2. This message was actually the first time I'd ever heard the sentiment of people wanting to boycott it. And when I first saw these messages related to my video, I didn't actually even know what triggered the calls for a boycott in the first place. If I had to guess, I could say maybe it was related to the new $80 price tag for Nintendo games, the Welcome Tour being essentially a paid tech demo, or maybe something related to the new virtual game card system. But the truth is, I didn't actually know why people would want to boycott the Switch 2, and I imagine to the people who left these comments, and especially the one who expressed disappointment in me, that sounds unbelievable. Like, what? How could you not know? But the thing is, most people out there are actually gonna be like me in that regard. You have to be a certain kind of person to even have this discussion of a boycott show up on your radar. I don't follow Nintendo news despite having played a lot of their games and owning a handful of their consoles in the past. In fact, the only time I was really paying all that much attention to Nintendo news was when the YouTuber Etika would talk about it. And that was definitely more out of an interest in Etika than an interest in Nintendo. Rest in peace to Etika, by the way, Joy-Con boys forever. And with how recommendation algorithms on all the various social media sites work, if you don't engage with something, you will not see it, for better and for worse. Whereas for another person, if they're really invested in not just Nintendo, but specifically the subset of the Nintendo fandom that discusses consumer rights as a topic, I imagine they would be seeing calls for a boycott everywhere, on YouTube, on Reddit, in the Discord servers they hang out in. It would be almost inescapable, to the point where it would seem ridiculous to them that a person like me, who not only plays games, but specifically has a career based on making videos about games, would have never heard of it.
You smoke crack, don't you? You smoke crack, don't you?
But it's true, I didn't. And I guarantee that most, or in the very least, a lot of the people watching this video right now are hearing about this push to boycott the Switch 2 for the first time because I'm talking about it. It's just the nature of the internet, but it's not exclusive to the internet, nor is it new. Echo chambers and bubbles have always existed. It's just that social media recommendation algorithms tailor-made for every individual user took that phenomenon and put it on crack so the tech giants could make billions from it. So with that out of the way, let's talk about this boycott. Why were people calling for the masses to not buy a Nintendo Switch 2? From what I've been able to gather, it's in response to a general sense that Nintendo is being very anti-consumer with their decision making. I already mentioned the new $80 price tag for Nintendo games, which, as far as I know, is the first time we're seeing a base game released at that price. Not a special or a collector's edition, but just the basic standard edition game. Remember, it was only last year that Ubisoft was trying to defend a $70 price tag for Skull and Bones by calling it the world's first quadruple A game, whatever the hell that means. If people accept an $80 price tag for Mario Kart World, it will only encourage Nintendo to keep pushing it with their prices and embolden their competitors too as well. There's also the price of peripherals for the Switch 2. The webcam costs $55. The Pro Controller costs $85. The Joy-Cons cost $95.
Damn!
Also, for a long time, Nintendo has just been very bold with how they treat their audience. Copyright claiming people who make videos about their games, shutting down fan projects, and threatening legal action against those who make them, restricting access to their older titles, and then punishing the use of emulators to play those titles. Sometimes you would think Nintendo hates the people who love their games. So there are legitimate reasons for people to be unhappy with Nintendo, and of course it's your right, not just as a consumer, but as a person, to not buy something out of protest. Although now that I'm thinking about it, Trump calling the Tesla boycotts illegal was actually crazy. Like, you are legally mandated to buy this product, but whatever. But despite all this, the Switch 2 went on to become one of the fastest selling games console of all time. And you can find clips of people playing as the cow in Mario Kart World all over social media. So understandably, this prompted those who were deeply invested in Nintendo news to say, hey, what happened to the boycott? And this comes back to what I was saying before. On the internet, we're not all getting the same information. For the most part, we're getting a combination of what we want to see and what we engage with most, even if we don't necessarily want to see it. And that can create a false sense that everyone is rallying around something big and it's becoming a movement, when really it might just be a small crowd of people talking enthusiastically to each other. Now, I've been reading what people have had to say post the massive success of the Switch 2's launch, despite calls for a boycott, and it's been quite interesting. Predictably, many people expressed that they were never going to boycott it in the first place. They might have followed the conversations, they watched the videos, and they may have even agreed with the points being raised, but ultimately they wanted a Switch 2 more than they wanted to take a stand against Nintendo. For others, the truth was that they weren't going to buy it in the first place. A consumer boycott necessarily requires that you, 1, actually want, and 2, have the means to buy the thing you are boycotting, and would likely have bought it were it not for the stance you're adopting in protest. That's part of what makes it a statement. You are sacrificing something in order to make a point and hopefully affect change. So if you weren't already going to buy it, and keep in mind, most people don't buy consoles as soon as they release, then did you boycott it or did you just not buy it? You know, I wouldn't say I'm boycotting a 4-bedroom house in the heart of London. I just ain't got the facilities for that, big man. One trend I have seen, which I do find quite concerning, is people making fun of those that did call for a boycott and the general sentiment that boycotts don't work and have never worked. This is simply not true, and it's very important we understand this, because we live in a world, yes, I'm doing a we live in a society meme, whatever, but we live in a world, right, where the people at the top with a lot of power have a vested interest in convincing us, the masses, with less power individually but a lot of power collectively, that in fact we don't have any power, so that when they take away what little power we do have, we won't even notice it or care. And so saying boycotts don't work to either discourage other people from boycotting or to excuse yourself from boycotting only serves to help those who both A, don't want you to exercise the power you have as a consumer, and B, actually want to strip you of that power while you stay well behaved and silent. This is one reason why monopolies are very bad for consumers. If one company owns everything, you no longer get to vote with your dollar, because no matter what you buy, the same company profits. Also, the phrase boycotts have never worked, while maybe holding some weight when it comes to past boycotts of individual gaming titles, shouldn't be internalized to mean that a boycott never has and never will work in general. Boycotts are adopted as a strategy to apply pressure to companies, governments, and organizations precisely because they can and have worked historically. One of the clearest examples I can give is the Montgomery bus boycott. This is a boycott that took place in the city of Montgomery, Alabama, after Rosa Parks, a black woman, was arrested for refusing to give up her seat to a white man on the bus. The boycott took a long time, over a year of the black residents of Montgomery refusing to take buses and suffering terrible backlash from their white counterparts in the form of harassment, violence, and having their homes and churches firebombed. But eventually, the racial segregation of buses in Montgomery was ruled unconstitutional, and the decision was upheld by the Supreme Court of the United States of America. It wasn't smooth sailing after that by any means, but it was a tangible step towards progress. Now, you might say, oh, come on, bro, you are being way too dramatic invoking 1950s racial segregation in America when we're talking about freaking video games.
It's only a game.
But understand, I brought it up as a familiar example to illustrate that boycotts can and have worked. But also, dude, if you're not willing to stand up when it comes to the small things and you allow those little liberties you take for granted to be whittled away, by the time it comes to the big things that will actually hugely impact your life, you won't even be prepared to put up a fight. You have no experience. Now, there are many reasons why the Nintendo boycott not only didn't work out, but wasn't even a blip on most people's radar. For one, Nintendo is a massive multinational corporation. It's arguably the most recognizable gaming brand in the world, and inarguably the owner of the most recognizable gaming franchises known in every country on the planet. Montgomery is a single city in Alabama, and buses are just one form of transportation in that city. The scale of the task is different. For a boycott to have higher chances of succeeding, there needs to be a clear target of the boycott, a clear action that consumers or service users can take, and there needs to be specific demands that the boycott is trying to get fulfilled. And even after all of this, it will still take a very long time. People were walking to work in Montgomery for over a year before they got the court ruling. To do something like this with a company as sprawling as Nintendo would require exceptional organization and exceptional collective conviction. A few YouTubers posting videos shaming Nintendo over the Switch 2, only to then buy the Switch 2 as soon as it releases, will not cut it. I do want to say though, I don't appreciate these snarky comments where people are like, hey, how's the boycott coming along? Whenever Nintendo boasts record sales numbers, or indeed when any attempt at collective action doesn't work out. You gotta understand, these people are boycotting for you. When they demand that companies employ better business practices that benefit the consumer and protect their rights, that's good for everybody. Even when it doesn't work out, and even when the attempt itself is woefully underwhelming, you should still support it in theory, even if not in practice, because they're advocating for something that benefits the people. Just because it didn't work doesn't mean it wasn't a good thing to try. I mean, people will be out here clowning on others for a boycott or a protest as though licking the boot and hoping you get treated nice if you put your back into it is a better alternative. So if you want to boycott the Switch 2 because you don't agree with Nintendo's business practices, I say do it even if nobody else joins you. It doesn't always have to be about starting a movement. It can also just be a decision you make as a consumer. And the console only has like 2 games anyway, so whatever.